Welcome to Connect, where we go beyond Sunday. This is your weekly talk show where we integrate the Word of God with real life issues. We started a conversation with Hellen, Kilusu, who is a counselor by profession, and we started a conversation on mental health issues. Remember that you can contact us, make use of the comment section. You can also send an email using the email address provided below. And we are receiving quite a bit of feedback concerning mental health issues, and especially where we demystified that when we talk about mental health, it's actually a positive conversation that we should be having in the church, among Christians, among believers. And the response we are getting is an appreciation of that conversation, and helping people know that we need to be looking out for one another as we look out for our spiritual well-being, as we look out for our financial well-being. We need to be looking out for our mental wellness. Again, another feedback coming in when we talked about the pressure that people can get through, for example, social media, the competitiveness of life, and these are all triggers. They can be triggers, and we may not be very conscious about them. This is the kind of feedback that we are receiving when we are talking about mental wellness and health issues.
Wow. And I think it's good feedback. Well, because we are trying to enlighten ourselves and the population out there on being mentally healthy, the wellness, and taking good care of yourself. And I think just to pick from our last conversation is the fact, the issue that you are not the one who has caused that issue to happen. So sometimes we do not know when it is happening. We are not aware. And it's also good for us to be able to mention to the audience that it can happen at any stage. Sometimes we look back when we were young, because we say even issues to do with advanced childhood experiences can carry issues to do with mental health to a certain age. Whatever happened to you when you were young, Pastor Kiniti, I think at this moment, you can be able to remember. And if it is somebody who wronged you, at this particular time, you still remember. And when you see that person, it triggers that feeling that this person wronged me when I was young. Take a good example of a baby, and I love the fact that I do a lot of child and adolescent counseling. So I'm able to pick from that age. And moving forward, how is that person going to live with issues to do with sexual abuse when they were young? Who did this? They pick that and they move on with life. But again, at a certain particular point in life, that issue is triggered. And to them, it affects them a lot. Even issues to do with forming relationships become very hard. So, and that is when we ask ourselves a question like, how is this person? They select themselves, A, B, C, D, and we tend to guess a number of things because we do not understand when they were growing up what happened to them when they're young. So let's stop saying children don't get stressed.
Okay.
They do, only that they're not able to verbalize it, talk about it. So that's why when you bring your kid for counseling, we don't sit the way we are sitting with you today. You know, we do child therapy where we play. We sit down in a mat together and we play so that they're able to explain their feelings. So when they touch a ball, they're able to explain to me as a counselor what has happened in their lives, because their mind is concentrating, yes, on that ball. But again, they're trying to open up. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to bring in light, just following up our last conversation.
Okay.
And glad to get these feedbacks.
Yeah, and so today we are focusing more on then mental wellness. And what I'm hearing from you right now is a reminder that actually our mental health issues today can be triggered by historical issues, which can stem even as far as childhood issues, something that somebody went through. And sometimes I think then this speaks really to parents to say that it is very important how we are taking care of our children. Sometimes we may do things to children thinking they are children. Thinking they are children. I remember, and you really explained that to us in detail, and that it reminds me, you mentioned to us that it's about the brain. So children have a brain which can be affected when they are children. And that aspect then means that the way as a parent I'm taking care of my child in any other way, any other aspect of their health, I should be able to also take care of the brain.
And without going scientifically, the brain has a part that stores memory. So if it happened to you when you're young, at a certain age, you're able to pick the cards. You know, you're able to draw that to your consciousness. So it is suppressed and become unconscious. But at this age today, Helen, I can be able to pick a card, something that happened to me when I was young. So it comes back to my consciousness, especially if I see this person did something wrong to me, and today I'm seeing this person. So it triggers the action that happened there before.
And, you know, we've really talked about, in our last session, we focused on helping us be comfortable talking about mental health issues, because we tried to deal with the myths, especially when we said part of the reactions is denial, and we said we can overcome that by talking about mental health. But I also realize not many people will go out to seek for help or treatment or, you know, a health check on issues to do with mental health. People will check their sugars, people will check cholesterol, people will check blood pressure and all that, which are diseases that, which are what triggers or aspects that would affect various organs in the body. But not many people will go out to maybe have a check on mental wellness. Is that something that, could there be a reason, and is it something that we should actually embrace as part of our mental wellness, you know?
Sure. That is very true. And the longer we take to address these issues, the percentage goes high on issues to do with people who are suffering from mental health illnesses. At the moment, research talks about out of 100,000 people in Kenya, 10,000 are suffering mental health issues. Out of 1 person out of 5 in the US is suffering mental health issues. And we can talk about these statistics every now and then. But one particular thing, maybe I can start with issues to do with stigmatization. People are left hanging out because, one, what will people say about me? I go to church, I'm a pastor, I'm a praise and worship team leader, you know, I'm the senior pastor or the associate pastor. So if I start declaring about issues to do with mental health, what will people think about me? And so it's about the people, not me as Helen. You know, because I said, remember I said, let's think about mental health and take it as a personal issue. So the moment you start thinking about what will the society say about me, the picture about my family, I'll tell you for sure, a number of people that I take in for sessions, some of them we don't meet face to face. It's only online, I don't see their faces. Why? Because the community out there will stigmatize me because I hold a very high position in the government, which is okay. Or sometimes parents will say, are you able to come home and do a session for my child at home because I don't want them to be seen? So that's why even when we talk about our counseling setups, we put them in very strategic places. So there's issue to do with stigmatization. We can also talk about awareness. People are not aware.
Okay.
I will tell you for free. Mental health, issues to do with mental health hit a higher percentage in Kenya when COVID hit. And everybody was calling us from all over. Hellen, we need to talk. I have been isolated. What do I do? My family, So that is the time we realize that mental health in Kenya is needed, Then we can also talk about the concern of reputation. As Hellen, as a counselor, as a pastor, as somebody who leads in the country. How will my reputation be? So we tend to hide because we don't want the society to also get to know that we have a weakness.
And that's why we are demystifying. That's why we are saying we need to look at it from a positive perspective. That I like people are hitting the gym. They say they're hitting the gym. And it sounds very positive. It's everybody wants, in fact, people will want to take photos. People are proud of being in the gym. It is not associated, it is more associated positively with keeping healthy than when you're saying you are either reducing your weight or stuff like that. It comes out negative. And I think then when we are talking about mental wellness, we should be proud that we are taking care of ourselves mentally.
Yes.
Because mental wellness, by and large, determines these other aspects of wellness. It can affect your spiritual wellness. It can affect your financial wellness. It can also affect how you relate with people, which is very important. It can affect your ability to do and engage in gainful activities that will then lead you to the next step. And so we are really calling on our viewers that you need to see this from a positive perspective. And talking about stigma, I could stigmatize myself even before I experience stigma from others.
Very true.
Yes.
Then I can also associate that with lack of support. Because if you don't have somebody to support you to go for, the mental wellness, maybe sessions or whatever, then it means you are not able to balance yourself well. Maybe I really want to go, but I don't have my parents' support. Because my parents will be like, no. How will people think about us? So that support is not there. But also another issue that I would love to address to us is issues to do with finance. And anytime I talk about finance and mental health, I think I enjoy, because one, our career as counselors at times means nothing. And we feel that counselors should do every session for free. So when you get somebody calling you, they'll ask you, how much do you charge, Hellen? I charge this amount. That is too expensive. At one particular point, I had this conversation with another parent, and I was like, what do you do as a parent? I sell stationery. So how much do you sell a laptop? This amount. Then he told me, I told him, it's very expensive, because I wanted us to have that conversation together. It's very expensive. Then he was like, no, issues to do with the Ukraine war. So I also told this person, also counseling has been affected with the Ukraine war, because they wanted us to be in the same place with this person. So the issue to do with counseling is you're just going to talk to someone, and that's all. But people do not understand that office itself is a therapeutic place,
Okay.
And there are approaches that we use, and I know a few, like the Sigmund Freud, the one that you spoke to me earlier. Not only that, but we use quite a number of eclectic approaches to make sure that we are able to analyze the situation with the client. So issues to do with finance, people feel like it's very expensive. But wait until it builds up to be a mental health illness. And you need to take your client, you need to take your patient to Mathare, to Chiromo, to Oasis. It becomes more expensive. So I think also people don't have that financial stability, or those who have financial stability feels like counseling should be a free kind of a session.
So people really need to invest, and somebody should not be feeling bad about making some investment towards their mental wellness.
Very well said.
Yes.
Yeah.
that should be a consideration, that if I can put some money aside for the gym, I can also put some money. And especially if somebody has gone through a period, or even now, as you said, I'm a grown up and there are these childhood thoughts or issues that are coming up, I should not suppress them. I can seek for help, so that they don't affect my mental wellness.
Very true.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. And again, putting in mind the issue to do with, you cannot share whatever you're going through with every other person. So the person you're going to also pay for this session is a professional. It's not just somebody from anywhere. Somebody who will keep your secrets at every particular point, and somebody who respects that relationship. We call it a therapeutic relationship. So let's not fear to pay for sessions. Yes.
Looking at it from a biblical perspective, and you'll tell us how that, whether that connects with what will be our response. Some of the things that we can do to ensure that we are mentally healthy. And one, I suggest that we need to talk to God about everything. Talk to God about everything. And Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7 tells us not to be anxious about anything. And part of the triggers to mental health is mental health issues is anxiety. Says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, we talk to God about our issues. Things that we are going through, and sometimes that we cannot talk to anyone. The good news is that we can actually talk to God about them. And it says when we do that, that God will, and the peace of God which transcends all understanding will guard our hearts and minds. Our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. So as a Christian, one way that you can look out for your mental health is talking to God. And when I say talking to God, yes, I mean prayer. Prayer is talking to God. But also talking to God means that I can sit down and actually have a conversation with God without, that prayer mood. I'm now entering a prayer mood.
There's no formula.
Yes, just saying, God, there is this thing. And there are times I have talked to God, telling him, actually, I am afraid of this. I don't know how to face this situation. And I need you to. So it's a conversation. And we can talk to God about everything. What's the place of talking? Besides talking to God, is there a place of talking? And I think that is what we have already alluded to.
Yes.
Talking to a professional, talking to a counselor, having a network that can support you. But secondly,
and also before you go to the second point, maybe just to support that point, sometimes when we ask people, how do you deal with stress? The first point is, I pray. So we also recognize that prayer has to be in that package. And the best part is when you're explaining that the issue to do with, talking to God does not have a formula. I can be cooking and talking to God. So when we talk, there's that talk therapy, but also sometimes we involve what we call the somatic healing therapies, where sometimes you just put music and you just want to listen to that gospel song. You're quiet. At the same time, you feel like you are connecting with your spiritual being. You're connecting with your Father. It is also a healing process through it.
What did you call it?
Somatic healing processes.
Okay,
yes.
okay,
or therapies. Yeah.
I know. I really love music personally, and there are times I just want to listen to this good music that at the end of the day uplifts and takes care of some anxieties, anxious moments, and you just feel there is a relief that energizes you for the next thing. But secondly, I think it is important to believe that God cares for you. As we said earlier, mental health issues can send someone to loneliness. And because of the way sometimes they're misunderstood, then you get to a place where you probably feel nobody cares. But there is a verse that tells us that we cast all our anxieties, again anxieties, or other versions will say, cast your cares, anxieties, cares to God, because He cares for you. In fact, it used to be a song that, cast your burdens unto Jesus, for He cares for you. And the important bit, what I underline there, is the fact that He cares. God cares about your mental wellness. He cares about the burdens. He cares about your feelings. He cares about your thoughts. He cares about your anxious moments. And so when we talk to Him about them, then He responds and He hears and He answers. Having a caring partner around you is very important for your mental well-being.
And talking about belief, one thing we encourage on issues to do with mental health is having a positive thought, like, I believe tomorrow it's gonna be good. The situation is going to change, because with these issues it is a step at a time. It is a whole topic when you talk about beliefs and issues to do with mental health, because what you believe is not what I believe. But in fact, the funny part is, the more I believe about that issue, it will happen. So our beliefs also, and we keep saying that our thinking, sometimes we think too much when it is not necessary. So let it go. But the only thing that should ring in your mind is positivity. Positivity. It might not be okay today, but tomorrow it will be okay. That's why when you're having somebody for a session, you tell them, I understand. Not really I understand, but I feel, because you cannot understand someone else's situation. I feel it is not okay today, but it will be.
It will be okay.
Because that positivity should come out, that it is today's situation, but tomorrow it's gonna be a better one.
Yeah, and they say that siku njema hujulikana asubuhi, meaning that a good day is recognizable in the morning. And I'm thinking we can turn our everyday into a good day.
Yes.
Not necessarily because everything is aligned, but seeing every day as an opportunity that actually today things are going to get better. But that also leads me to the third point, that we need to learn to live one day at a time. And I think that is the other challenge, that is the other big pressure that can be on us and in our thoughts. Thinking about tomorrow, thinking about next year, thinking about 20 years from now. It doesn't mean that let's not think or let's not envision. But even as we envision, we need to learn to live one day at a time. And yet Christ tells us in Matthew 6:34, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. And then he says, each day has enough trouble of its own. That why should I try to think of tomorrow's troubles today? Yet tomorrow will have its own troubles that I can engage in the following day. So we are talking about talking to God about everything. We are talking about believing that God cares for you. And now we are saying that we need to learn to live one day at a time.
Very true. And sometimes, Pastor Kiniti, we carry a lot of burdens in our heads. So this is what I tell people: carry what you can manage to carry. Don't carry tomorrow's problems today. Let's see tomorrow and see what tomorrow has for us. So you are planning perhaps to buy a car because your friend Ken has a big car. But the amount of money that you have that day is not going to be enough for you to buy that good car. So what are you going to do to make sure that you get that car? The better part is for you to be able to buy what you can be able to afford. We are the ones who pressure ourselves so much. Because yes, we want to the ends to meet, but we do it wrongly. So we pressure ourselves. I want to carry 100 kgs in my brain, and I'm not able to.
Okay.
But I still push myself to make sure that I carry that. So it is a day at a time. Even when we do these sessions, we are like, can we think about now? It's about now. Who are you now? Talk to me about how are you feeling now, not about yesterday. Because we want the now to take control of your mental health. Yeah.
And I think that is very important because, again, when you live a life of comparing yourself, you know, I realize in this life, there will always be something that you don't have. There will always be something that you can't do. There will always be something that, you know, is not within your reach. But also the opposite is true. There will always be something that you have and someone else doesn't have. Even in terms of knowledge, there will always be something that you don't know. But again, there will always be something that you know that someone else doesn't know.
Very true.
And there will always be something that you can do that someone else can't do. And so when I'm thinking about Hellen being a very good singer, and everybody is happy about, you know, is attracted to Hellen because of her singing. But anytime I open my mouth to sing, nobody is able to get that key on any of the instruments. But maybe I'm good at drawing.
Very true.
Yet Hellen cannot draw. So many times we want to focus and we are bogged down by what we don't have, what we don't know, what we can't do, instead of being energized by what we know, by what we have, you know, by what we can do.
Yes.
And that, to me, I think should create a balance on our mental well-being, so that at no particular point are you carrying that 100 kg issue on your head. They also say an issue shared, or you know, when you speak to someone, it is a problem shared. It's half solved, you know, in a way. That sometimes you just need to open up and somebody else listens to you, and already half that burden is already offloaded. But the fourth thing is that we need to listen. All right? So we need to talk to God about everything. We need to believe that God cares for us. We need to learn to live one day at a time. But we also need to listen to God's thoughts concerning our lives. Listening to God's thoughts concerning you. And you're talking about positivity. There is a verse here, Isaiah 41 verse 10. It says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That is God's promise for his children.
Amen.
And when it comes then to thinking about what God is thinking about us, you realize it's so different from what the world is telling us, what the voices around us are saying, even what people are saying about us, and what circumstances and trends seem to be predicting about us is different from what God is saying. How will that be helpful for mental health and mental well-being?
It's really interesting listening to the last part of us listening to the voice of God. And why? Because sometimes also, or quite a number of times, on issues to do with mental health, what do we say? Listen to your body. Listen to your body. My body is tired. What do I need to do? I need to sleep. My body is tired. I need to delegate. That's why you cannot be in praise and worship. You cannot be maturity. You know, you cannot be, you know, the usher. That's why we need to delegate. We need to listen. But how do we listen to our bodies? It's the quiet time that we observe. So the number of times when you're having the quiet time, what happens? You're also relating with your spiritual well-being. Because if I'm seated and I'm listening, Of course, I want to listen to the assurance, something that is assuring me that I'll live to see tomorrow. So, and that connects me with God. And remember when I say that when we ask people, how do you deal with stress? They say, I sing, I pray, I fast. So it's good to understand that we have different types of dealing with mental health issues, but also these, then again, we say they resonate with our spiritual well-being. And it's good for us to be able to connect both and make sure that they're all positive. And I think they are talking about and drawing us closer to issues to do with our mental health.
Good.
Yes.
So maintaining our mental health is very important. Invest in mental wellness. This has been Connect, where we go beyond Sunday. Remember, you can keep interacting with us using the email address provided below. You can also use the chat section. Send us your questions, your comments, and in subsequent episodes, we will be addressing and be glad to address some of the issues that you raise. But remember, reach out to someone today that they may know that someone cares for them. God bless you.